Frank is 68 years old, retired, married for over 4 decades, still very much in love with his wife. But one day he sat across from me, looked down at his hands, and said something that stopped me cold. "Doc, it's like someone turned the switch off. I still love her, but my body doesn't." That silence that followed, it said everything. He didn't feel like himself anymore. He wasn't talking about just desire. He was talking about identity, about connection, about the quiet grief of losing something he didn't know how to name. And here's the thing, Frank isn't alone. Every week I hear the same story from men just like him. Men who feel like their spark, their energy, even their confidence is slipping, and most of them think the same thing. Maybe it's just age. Maybe this is just what happens, but what if I told you? It's not. What if I told you that 3 common foods, ones you probably have in your kitchen right now, may be slowly killing your intimacy? Not in a dramatic way, not overnight, but quietly, consistently. Day after day, foods that mess with your hormones, choke off your circulation, and disrupt the natural chemistry that makes desire possible. Frank didn't need a prescription. He didn't need another pill to mask the problem. What he needed was to understand how his daily habits, especially his food, were sending the wrong signals to his body. Once we removed 3 specific foods and replaced them with natural, healing alternatives, everything started to shift. And when he came back a few weeks later, he looked different. He leaned in and said, "Doc, something's waking up, and it feels like me again." In this video, I'm going to walk you through those same 3 foods. What they are, why are they doing damage, and what you can eat instead to naturally support blood flow, hormone health, and your intimate vitality. If you're over 60 and starting to feel the disconnection, not just in your body, but in your relationship, this isn't your fault. You haven't failed. You've just never been told the truth about how certain foods, marketed as safe or even healthy, are working against you every single day. But once you know, you can take your power back. Your next meal could be the first step toward rebuilding that part of yourself that feels like it's been fading. It happened for Frank. It's happened for thousands of men I've worked with, and it can happen for you too. Let's start with the first food. It's probably sitting in your pantry right now, and chances are, you've been told it's perfectly healthy. Section 1. The intimacy disconnect after 60. If you're a man over 60, and you've noticed a change, maybe you're not waking up with that same firmness. Or your desire isn't what it used to be, you're not imagining it. And you're definitely not alone. Studies show that nearly half of men over the age of 60 experience some form of sexual dysfunction. But numbers don't tell the full story. What they don't show is how that quiet change affects your confidence, your mood, your relationship, your sense of being a man. It's not just physical, it's personal. You might still care deeply for your partner. You may even still feel the desire in your mind, but your body doesn't follow through the way it once did. And that gap between what you feel and what you can express starts to create distance. Many men don't talk about it. We're taught to be strong, to handle things, to stay quiet when we're hurting. But inside, it can feel like something is slipping away, like part of you is fading, and no one told you how to get it back. The truth is, our bodies do change with age. Testosterone levels decline, blood flow slows, nerve sensitivity decreases. These are natural shifts, but they don't have to mean the end of your intimacy or energy. In fact, most of the problems men face in their 60s and beyond aren't caused by aging itself. They're caused by how modern life collides with aging. Processed food, high stress, poor sleep, low movement, these things disrupt the delicate systems that keep your body responsive, energized, and connected. And intimacy, that's not just about performance. It's about connection, closeness, the confidence that your body will rise to meet the moment. When your body stops responding the way it used to, it can quietly affect everything. You might avoid closeness. You might feel anxious, frustrated, or even embarrassed. That disconnect can make you feel more alone than you've ever admitted. But here's the truth you need to hear: it doesn't have to stay this way. The body is capable of recovery. of healing, of responding again when you give it the right signals. And the first place to start isn't in a bottle or a supplement. It's in the food on your plate, because some of the most common foods that feel harmless are quietly breaking the connection between your brain, your blood vessels, your hormones, and your confidence. Let's look at the first one. It's been in your kitchen for years, and you've been told it's a healthy choice. But for aging men, it might be the start of everything going wrong. Food 1. Processed grains, one of the most common foods I see men over 60 eating every single day, is also one of the most damaging to their intimacy and vitality. White bread, bagels, pasta, crackers, cereal, they seem harmless, even light. You've probably been told for years that these foods are part of a balanced diet. Something easy on the stomach, something simple and clean. But the truth is, these processed grains are working against your body in ways that directly impact blood flow, hormone levels, and bedroom performance. Let's break it down. When you eat processed carbohydrates like white bread or pasta, your blood sugar spikes. That rapid spike triggers a release of insulin. Over time, if this happens again and again, your body starts becoming resistant to insulin's effects. That's called insulin resistance, and it's one of the most silent and dangerous enemies of male health after 60. Why? Because insulin resistance doesn't just lead to fatigue, weight gain, and cravings. It also damages your blood vessels, especially the tiny, sensitive vessels that supply blood to your most intimate areas. Think of your blood vessels like flexible garden hoses. When you were younger, they opened and closed easily. Blood flowed where it needed to when it needed to. That's what makes firm, natural arousal possible. But processed grains stiffen those hoses from the inside. They create inflammation. They reduce nitric oxide, the very molecule responsible for signaling blood vessels to relax and allow flow. And once blood stops flowing freely, intimacy becomes harder. Literally and emotionally, you might still feel desire, but your body can't carry out the message. Here's something most men don't realize. Insulin resistance and erectile dysfunction go hand in hand. Studies show that men with insulin resistance are up to twice as likely to experience performance issues, even if they have no obvious signs of diabetes. And it's not just about the moment. Reduced blood flow also means less oxygen and fewer nutrients reaching the nerves and tissues that support long-term function. It's a slow breakdown, one bite at a time. Now here's the good news. You don't have to give up carbs completely. You just need to choose the ones that work with your body, not against it. Swap out white bread for sprouted grain or rye bread. Replace sugary breakfast cereal with steel. Cut oats. Use quinoa or lentils instead of pasta a few nights a week. Choose foods with fiber, color, and texture, the kind that keep your blood sugar stable and your blood vessels healthy. I had one patient, 62, active, relatively healthy, who came to me with low energy and occasional issues in the bedroom. We looked at his diet, and every morning started with white toast and jam. He thought he was eating light. We swapped it out with eggs, avocado, and a slice of sprouted bread. We added in leafy greens at lunch and cut down the processed carbs at dinner. Within 3 weeks, he reported not only better energy but stronger, more reliable intimacy at night. No pills, no side effects, just smarter food choices, the kind that restore rather than restrict. And it all started with removing one thing, processed grains. Now let's look at the second food, one that hides behind the word protein, but may be silently damaging your blood pressure and your connection. Food 2. Processed meats and sodium bombs. The second food that silently damages intimacy for men over 60 is one that most consider a source of strength protein. But not all protein is created equal. I'm talking about processed meats. Bacon, sausages, deli slices, salami, beef jerky, and even canned meats. They're convenient, they taste good, they've been a staple in many men's diets for decades. But under the surface, these foods are loaded with sodium, nitrates, and preservatives, and they create the perfect storm for vascular damage. Let's start with sodium. Your body needs some sodium to function properly. But processed meats often contain far more than what your body is built to handle. The excess sodium increases fluid retention and raises your blood pressure, and here's where that becomes a direct problem for your intimacy. Erections, energy, and performance are all controlled by blood flow. When blood pressure goes up, your blood vessels become stiffer, narrower, and less responsive. That means less blood gets to the areas where you need it most, not just for intimacy, but for energy, stamina, and clarity. You might not notice it overnight, but over time that chronic elevation in blood pressure slowly chips away at your ability to respond, to feel, and to function. There's more. Many processed meats also contain chemical preservatives like sodium nitrite. These compounds have been linked to oxidative stress, a condition where the body produces more free radicals than it can neutralize. Oxidative stress affects the lining of your blood vessels. It damages the cells that help control dilation and blood flow. That damage isn't just internal, it shows up in the form of fatigue, poor circulation, and declining performance. I had one patient, 65 years old, who came to me with ongoing blood pressure issues and persistent fatigue. He was on medication, walking regularly, but still felt off. We reviewed his diet, and nearly every lunch included a sandwich stacked with turkey slices or roast beef from a package. We replaced that habit with grilled chicken, avocado, and fresh greens. He started using herbs like garlic, black pepper, and lemon instead of salt. Within 4 weeks, his blood pressure readings improved. He felt lighter, and he told me, for the first time in months, that he felt truly present in the bedroom again. No prescriptions changed, just the food. Here's what many men don't realize. Your blood vessels are incredibly responsive to food. They heal, they adapt, and when you remove what's harming them like excess sodium and preservatives, you give your body the chance to function like it's meant to. So if you've been relying on lunch meat, salty snacks, or convenience proteins, it may be time to step back and ask, is this feeding my strength, or silently stealing it? Because what you eat for lunch could affect how you feel at night. And now it's time to look at the third food, the one that feels innocent, even comforting, but may be the biggest hormonal disruptor of them all. Absolutely. Here is section 4. Food #3 added sugars, written in the same clean, voiceover-ready style with approximately 520 words, continuing the smooth and conversational flow. Food 3, added sugars, the third food quietly damaging male intimacy after 60, is one most people overlook, especially those trying to eat healthy. It's added sugar, and not just the obvious kinds: candy, cakes, or sodas. I'm talking about the hidden sugars in things like flavored yogurt, granola bars, low-fat snacks, fruit juices, sauces, and even so-called health cereals. You may not taste it, but your body responds to it every single time. When sugar enters the bloodstream, it spikes your glucose levels. That triggers a rapid insulin response, similar to what we discussed with processed grains. But there's something else sugar does that's especially harmful for aging men. It interferes with hormone balance. After 60, most men are already experiencing a natural decline in testosterone. It's a slow, steady shift that affects everything from mood and energy to muscle strength and libido. But when you add sugar into the equation, things accelerate. Spikes in blood sugar lead to increased fat storage, especially around the belly, and belly fat isn't just about appearance. It's hormonally active. It produces more estrogen, the primary female hormone, and suppresses testosterone production in the process. More sugar equals more belly fat. More belly fat equals more estrogen, and more estrogen equals less testosterone, which means less desire, lower energy, and weaker performance. It's a hormonal chain reaction, and it starts with what's in your breakfast, your snacks, or even your salad dressing. I had a patient, 61 years old, who came to me completely confused. He was exercising, eating what he thought was clean, but still felt tired, unmotivated, and disconnected from his wife. We reviewed his diet. His mornings started with loaf, at yogurt and granola. Lunch included bottled dressing. His evening snack was a protein bar that claimed to be healthy. But when we added it all up, he was consuming over 80 grams of added sugar a day without a single piece of candy. We swapped the yogurt for plain Greek yogurt with berries. Replaced the granola bar with a handful of nuts and a square of dark chocolate. Introduced cinnamon to stabilize blood sugar and added leafy greens and olive oil to his meals. The change wasn't instant. But after 4 weeks, his belly softened, his sleep improved, and he said, for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was back in his body again. Sugar doesn't just sap your energy. It alters the hormonal signals that make you feel like a man. And the worst part, it often does it without you realizing. That's why reading labels, simplifying meals, and choosing whole foods is critical, especially after 60. Your body is more sensitive now, but that sensitivity isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's your system asking for better fuel, cleaner inputs, and less interference. Because with the right nourishment, testosterone can stabilize, blood flow can improve, confidence can return, and intimacy, it can feel natural again. Let's talk now about something deeper, the emotional toll all of this takes, and why it's not just physical decline we're fighting, but something much more personal. The emotional toll no one talks about when intimacy fades. It's easy to focus on the physical changes, lower energy, reduced performance, weaker response. But what most men don't talk about is what it does to the heart. Because when your body stops showing up the way it used to, something deeper starts to shift inside you. You pull back. You start to avoid closeness. You stop initiating moments that once felt natural. Not because the desire is gone, but because the fear of disappointment sets in. You start wondering if something's wrong with you. You don't say it out loud, but the question lingers, is this just how it ends? And in that silence, you can lose more than function. You can lose connection, confidence, a part of your identity you've held onto your whole life. For many men, this feels like grief, but they never name it. And the truth is, it's not about ego. It's about how we're wired. Intimacy isn't just about physical release. It's about closeness, presence, reassurance that you're still in the game, that you're still needed, wanted, alive. When that's gone, or when it feels out of reach, it can create a quiet kind of loneliness, even in a loving relationship. But that feeling, that fading, isn't permanent. Your body isn't broken. It's responding to years of inputs it was never designed to handle. And once you start removing what dulls it and restoring what fuels it, it begins to wake up again. It remembers. That's the beauty of this stage of life. With the right support, healing happens faster than you think. This isn't decline, it's a signal. Your body is asking for a reset, and it starts with how you nourish it. Let's talk about what that reset can actually look like and how to eat for intimacy after 60. How to eat for intimacy after 60. By now, you've seen how certain foods can quietly damage your circulation, hormones, and vitality. But the good news is just as powerful, because the right foods can do the opposite. They can restore blood flow, balance hormones, reignite energy, and make you feel more like yourself again. You don't need a complicated diet or a long list of restrictions. You need a simple, natural way of eating that works with your body, not against it. There are 3 goals you want to focus on: supporting circulation, boosting testosterone, and reducing inflammation. Let's start with circulation. Blood flow is everything when it comes to intimacy. To support it naturally, include foods that increase nitric oxide, the molecule that signals your blood vessels to open and allow flow. Beets, pomegranate, arugula, spinach, garlic. These foods help relax and expand blood vessels, improving oxygen delivery and sensitivity where you need it most. Next is testosterone. Testosterone isn't just about desire. It drives motivation, strength, mood, and confidence. To support healthy testosterone, focus on zinc, healthy fats, and cholesterol, the raw materials your body uses to make hormones. Eggs, oysters, pumpkin seeds, olive oil, avocados, these foods don't suppress testosterone like low-fat diets do, they nourish it. They send a message to your body that it's safe, strong, and ready. Finally, inflammation. Chronic inflammation dulls your nerves, weakens blood vessels, and suppresses hormonal activity. The foods that reduce it are the same ones that support long-term health in every area: leafy greens, fatty fish like salmon, turmeric, extra virgin olive oil, berries, green tea, simple foods, no chemicals, no labels, just natural, nutrient-rich fuel your body recognizes and thrives on. One of the biggest changes I see when men shift their eating isn't just in the bedroom. It's in how they carry themselves. They move differently, they sleep better, their mood lifts, their confidence returns, and that confidence translates into connection, because intimacy doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts in the kitchen, in the choices you make each day that say, "I still care about how I show up. I still care about how I feel." Your body isn't asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be consistent. Feed it real food, fuel it with intention, and watch what happens next, because healing is possible, and it starts with your next bite. Now, let's bring this full circle and see what happened when Frank made these changes in his own life. Here is Section 7, Frank's Comeback and Yours, continuing in the same clean, voiceover-ready format, with approximately 420 words, bringing emotional resolution and inspiration to the viewer. Frank's Comeback and Yours. 3 months after that first visit, Frank walked back into my office. He looked lighter, brighter, he stood taller. There was something different in his eyes, a quiet confidence that hadn't been there before. He smiled and said, "Doc, I feel like I'm showing up again, in every way." We looked at his progress. He had lost 12 pounds without counting calories. His blood pressure was down, his sleep had improved, and most importantly, he told me he felt connected again, not just physically, but emotionally. He and his wife were laughing more, talking more, spending time together the way they used to, and it all started with 3 simple changes. He removed the foods that were silently draining him. He added in foods that nourished his blood, his hormones, and his nervous system. He gave his body what it had been missing, and his body responded. Frank didn't get younger, he got clearer. He got back in alignment with what his body was asking for. And in doing so, he rediscovered a part of himself he thought was gone. This isn't just Frank's story. This can be your story too. If you're in your 60s or beyond and you've felt yourself pulling back, if you've noticed the energy drop, the spark fade, the silence creeping in between you and your partner, you're not broken, you're not too far gone, you're just operating on habits that no longer serve you. And the moment you begin to shift those habits, not with guilt, not with shame, but with intention and care, your body begins to remember. It's not about going back to who you were at 30. It's about becoming fully present with who you are now, with strength, clarity, connection, and peace. The second half of your life can be just as vital, just as connected, just as meaningful as the first. You just have to give yourself permission to reclaim it, starting with what's on your plate. Now let's close this with a reminder of what you can do today to begin, because your next step is simple and powerful. Here is the closing section. Your next bite could be the beginning, written in the same clean, voiceover-ready format with approximately 230 words, delivering a powerful, hope-filled finish with a gentle call to action. Closing your next bite could be the beginning. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You don't need to chase quick fixes or hide behind silence anymore. You've seen how 3 everyday foods, processed grains, processed meats, and added sugars can quietly disrupt blood flow, hormones, and the deeper connections that make intimacy possible. And you've seen how simple changes can restore vitality, 1 meal at a time. This isn't about discipline, it's about dignity. It's about feeding the parts of you that still want to show up, the parts of you that still care, The parts of you that still remember what it feels like to feel strong, steady, and present. Your body hasn't given up on you. It's been waiting for you to give it the right support. So start small, swap the toast for something whole, replace the packaged meats, cut back the hidden sugars, not because you're trying to be perfect, but because you're choosing to show up for yourself again. You deserve that, you've earned that, and it's never too late to reclaim it. Your next bite could be the beginning of something powerful, because intimacy doesn't end with age, it begins again with care,